So I've just attached my dog to the post pole outside the ladies' toilets in Waterloo. So many people wondering what's going on. The pictures are just meant to stay on the post. This is Miss Fox. I'm aware that obviously my face appears to have been spread all over the world. I'm really overwhelmed by it all. I didn't expect any of this to happen. I've done this a few times before. To me, it's something that feels very normal and very natural. I am aware that I haven't actually spoken really that much about it. I've said a few things on Twitter to my followers and things, but I haven't actually said anything on, you know, a bigger scale and actually talked about who I am, what I enjoy about dominatrixing, and what that walk actually meant for women like me. Let's go back actually to the actual day itself. So I had already arranged with the boy in question. He wasn't actually my serving slave at that point. He was under consideration to earn his collar. So that day, he'd already said he was going to be in London if we could go to a latex shop very close to Waterloo Station. I said, yeah, of course. You pay for it. Obviously, I'll be there. I'll come. So as soon as we got to the station, I got to the station. Though I got to Waterloo, he was already ready to get down and kiss my boots. I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. I said, are you okay with me today walking you through the station? I'd done a walk with him once before actually, but it was a very quiet area near where I was staying once. I was staying in a hotel and we did like a local walk. And he said on this occasion, he said, yes, mistress, I have no choice but to obey. It's like, good boy. So I put the collar on him and started to walk down the ramp from the top end of Waterloo Station. My eyelash actually was coming off, so I had a false eyelash. And I said to him, I needed to go to the toilet and sort it out. Obviously, I can't take a grown man, a grown boy, a grown puppy into the toilet with me. So I left him attached to the post outside. And actually at that point, when I came back, there was two women asking him questions like, what's he doing? And he explained it to them and they just went, okay. And then they carried on with their day. They walked off. And I had a friend contact me on the way as I was coming in. She saw that I was coming to London that day. And she said, oh, can I meet you? I was like, great, I'll meet you in the station. So I was actually waiting for my friend. I was waiting under the clock because that's one of the, you know, key meeting places. And as we were waiting there, that's when people started to gather around, starting taking video, pictures and stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, you can do whatever you want. And then I actually had a conversation with a gentleman for about 5-10 minutes. He was asking me how much it cost. And on this occasion, I mean, my slave doesn't pay for me to do, well, he pays for me to do things, but it's not a transactional thing. It's not, can I give you money so you can do this? It's like, it doesn't work like that for me. I don't have any slaves that do that. It's very much a case of they pay me because they really value me as a woman. They value me as a female and they value me as a black female. So on this occasion, I just decided that I wanted to walk him, as I do sometimes. I want to walk you today. I'm going to walk you. So the gentleman asked me this question and I explained just that to him. He then took my phone number, so my business phone number. He took a photo with myself and my slave, and he was just really interested in the dynamic. So that was great. And then before I knew it, there was even more people around and it turned into a bit of a crowd. And at this moment, this is when my friend arrived and I said, oh, can you film? Can you just film everybody standing around and stuff? And when you're somebody who is I don't seek attention. It's not my intention to get people to look at me. I don't need that in my life. But there are some people who just do get attention, and I just happen to be one of those people. Obviously, in that moment, I am getting attention because I am a woman with a grown man on a lead. So I mean, but the thing is, I've actually seen it before myself in the street. I've seen women being walked by men, you know, so that was actually the first experience I saw was actually in Canary Wharf 4 years ago. And it was a white man walking a white woman. But, you know, and I'd seen some other various random humiliation things. So for me, I didn't expect it to be that much of a reaction by doing it, by just standing there. I was literally just standing there, and my slave was on his knees and he had his sign. So people started, coming around, and I was like, okay, there's a crowd for me. So I slapped my slave twice around the face. I slapped him twice. It's like, I've seen people fight in the streets. I've seen people, I've actually seen some dead bodies in my time. So there's lots of things that happen. I see worse on stag do's. There's lots of things that happen in the world that not everybody can consent to. No way. There's so many, even in my own street, I see people arguing, and there's so many things that you just have no control over. But you can choose whether to engage with that or to carry on with your day, because we're all very busy doing our own thing. If you don't like something, just walk away. There's so many things that we all don't like. But if you spend time focusing on that thing that you don't like, how are you going to carry on with your day with a positive step? If something bothers you, really just ignore it, because it will really bring you down. If I was to be on top of things that bothered me, I would get nothing done. But the ultimate thing was with this is I had so many people around me. And then I had so many people asking me questions like, this is amazing. What's your Instagram? Can I do this too? Network Rail staff were asking me this. Members of the public were asking me this. At this point, I'd obviously had about 2 staff members say that the police had been called. And I said, why? Because there's no law broken. And they didn't answer that question, but actually had another staff member come along and say he didn't have any problem with it. He thought it was fine. He thought it was great. He accepted it, and he accepted that there were people also interested in taking photos. And then he left, and then the other 2 people were a bit miserable. They said they were offended, and I said, well, being offended is a matter of opinion. And again, I highlighted the people behind. They said the police had been called, and I said, well, I'll just wait until they get here then. And when I turned around, there was more people asking questions. And at this point, I kind of felt that there was a police officer here, but he was so polite. He actually let me finish my conversations until I actually turned to him and I said, oh, can I help you? And he said, we are acting on behalf of Network Rail. We've been called. We are just doing our duty, our job. And we've been asked to ask you to leave the area. And I said, why? What laws have I broken? He said, well, you're actually disturbing the peace on private property because a crowd has formed. And I was like, okay, fair enough, fine. And I said, just before I left, or tried to leave, I said, surely you've seen this before? And he said, not in Waterloo Station. And I said, well, I think you better get used to it. And that's when the lady officer was just smiling at me. And I was trying to leave, but so many people, again, were still asking me questions. And as I was leaving the station, I was trying to walk out, and there's like an information area in Waterloo. And that's where I saw the priest. The priest was literally leaning up like this. He had like the biggest smile, like I'd made his day, bless him. So he saw a real life goddess walk past. And then as I was walking out, I still had, women next to me asking me questions, coming out with me, thinking this was amazing. Women with babies in their pushchairs, more Network Rail staff coming along with me. And actually, by the time I got outside, there was a few ladies left, and I stayed outside to chat to one girl. She had so many questions for me. She was probably in her early 20s, and she said, I wanted to do this at university, but I just didn't know how. And I was like, wow. She said, I just looked and looked, I had no idea. And I said, you need to have good influences, like good role models in this, because that's how I started. I looked at the people I thought would be good role models for me, and I'd always had this kind of feeling that I needed to be a dominatrix. It was weird, because I even dressed up as a dominatrix at university on a fancy dress week where nobody else dressed up. And there I was in my little dominatrix outfit. I had a collar and lead that was putting around strangers and dragging them around, men, women. This was when I was like 21, so, well, younger than that. So I was explaining to her the same thing, and she was really, really lovely to talk to, and we just had a great connection, and she took my Instagram and stuff like that. So then I went to Waterloo to Honour Clothing, got my latex with my slave, and then we went back. And before we'd left and we'd parted our ways again, I said, you did so amazing today, because he actually didn't speak. He didn't make any scene. He was obviously very obedient. You can see in all the footage, he's literally on his knees, completely quiet. He just was not spoken to unless I gave him permission. And actually, he only asked permission to speak once, and that was when we was outside talking to the girl I mentioned, who the 20-something-year-old woman. And he said, "Can I have permission to speak?" And I said yes. And he said, because it was two black girls, he said, "What our people have done to you has been abhorrent, and I'm really sorry for that." And that's what he said. So, oh, let me pause it a second. That's my door. So yes, as I was saying, it's actually just my dinner arriving at the door. Yeah, so before we went our separate ways, I said, "Look, you've been so good today. You've done so well, and you have earned my collar." And he was so overwhelmed. We hugged each other, and he just started crying, and it was so beautiful. It was really so beautiful. He was just saying, "Thank you, Goddess, thank you, thank you." And, you know, just kept hugging and hugging. He was smiling, and I was laughing at him for being so silly. And but no, it was really beautiful, and it was really overwhelming. So then we went our separate ways. I then I can't remember how things happened. I think it was a case of that somebody had told me first that I was trending on Instagram, and I was like, "What?" So I checked this this Instagram account, and it had footage of me there that they posted, and it had, I think it got up to like 57,000 views or something like that, maybe more, maybe like 60,000 views. I was like, Jesus. And I saw a couple of tweets on Twitter. Then I got alerted to a Reddit feed that had already thousands of comments. Then I got told by my slave, actually, who was like, I think it was a couple of days later, or maybe the next day, saying, "Do you know we're in the Sun?" I'm like, oh my gosh. And then it went to Daily Mail, and then it was in the what was it? It was the it was Daily Mail, the Mirror, the Sun. Then I got told it was on Lad Bible. And I just saw all the comments. It was just fascinating. It really was. And I was just so overwhelmed, because I think as a dominatrix, you kind of have outer body experiences quite a lot of the time. So I was very much like that. But at the same time, I was like screaming, like, "Oh my God, what's happening? What's happening?" And now I see that I've been turned into like memes and captions, and people were adding their own captions and things. So it's really amazing to me, because the overwhelming majority, about 90% of people that have seen this, have found it really funny, have found it amazing that it's a black woman walking a white man, which they fully identify and recognise how powerful that is. The 10% are the people who obviously don't quite know what to do with themselves, and they mention the children thing. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, kids don't really... You forget about things. Like, even if your child has curiosity at that age, all children have curiosity. Like, I remember when my curiosity started, but they didn't happen because I saw something on the street. It's because I knew about it, because biology just makes us naturally curious about certain things. So to say as well also is that act in particular was not sexual for me. It was not sexual for my slave. My slave believes he comes from a long line of slave owners. So black female supremacy is what I practice, and it's incredibly powerful for him to submit himself to a black woman, and for me to be empowered by that. That's mainly our dynamic. I feel very, 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 very proud of myself to be a black woman. Very proud, because when you grow up in this life, people don't make it easy. They don't make it easy for you to be black. And sometimes you get reminded about being black instead of being able to just live your life and be okay and not have to worry about your colour. People will still bring it up. So in this instance, it's made me very proud to be black. And through actually doing dominatrixing, I've become incredibly empowered to be black. I grew up in mainly white sort of suburban areas, and even where I live now, there's not many black people. So I already stand out. But you know, it's been absolutely fantastic to see everybody's reaction, to understand the dynamic and how poignant that is for me as a black woman to have a white slave, and all my slaves are white actually. It's just been really, really overwhelming, and I thought it was about time that I actually said, you know, about the day, how it meant to me, how it meant to my slave. he's just so happy. He's so happy. I mean, he actually used to do public humiliation quite a bit with his previous mistress. So obviously I took him to the next level and I just didn't expect all of this reaction, and it's been really amazing to me, really amazing to both of us. And we'd just like to I will thank on his behalf, and I'll thank, you know, for both of us, just to everybody who's watched, to everybody who's commented, who said really nice things about us. Sorry. It's just been really amazing, because everybody tries to be in the world is be themselves, and they want to be accepted for who they are. So for me, it's been really amazing to just be accepted for me and my slave also to be accepted for him, because it's something that a lot of people just wouldn't understand. They wouldn't understand, why does a man want to be on his knees for another woman? Look at the age we're in now. We're in the age of female empowerment. The time is right for men to admit and to submit themselves to females and put their lives into female hands. We can guide you, we can train you, we can teach you how to feel empathy, to be understanding. So many of these traits are so important for just everyday communication and success. So I'm overwhelmed and grateful, because growing up for me, I was incredibly insecure. I'd have kind of like 2 lives that I'd led growing up. So now, as me, a grown woman, fully accepting herself, fully empowered, I am so happy to be in this space, and I'm so thankful and grateful to everybody who has made comments. And even if you haven't understood, I'm glad that you've made comments, because I think people have also tried to help you understand, and I've seen some people then begin to understand our dynamic, but hopefully this clears up a lot of things too. So again, thank you very much, and who knows, you might see me walking around again, walking a white man. So yeah, until next time.